Okay, that's fine. Clover, you missed your clap. You okay? Anything behind you? Are you scared?
No, man, it keeps fucking thundering real bad. I'm always like waiting for a tree.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be... No, you cut that tree down, or was that tree already cut down?
No, I cut the ones right out in the front, man, but I still leery of because every tree that's around my house, like if it decides to fall towards my house,
it's gonna hit
the house. Like they're that big.
That's bad. If this podcast makes it through just this, like if it makes it through, we know is going to be another marathon podcast. We'll be lucky if your internet doesn't cut out or something. I literally just bit my tongue talking. This is not starting out well. It's like, what the fuck just happened? Hey, everybody. It's the Two Dads Review Podcast, and we are starting off spectacularly. This is Clay. Still have my tongue pretty much. Who's that on the other end?
I'm Corey. So you just bit your tongue talking.
Yep, that's over. I don't even know why we do this as a hobby. It's great. I'll just bite my tongue. Just have at it. So... what have you stepped into? What have you downloaded? What did you decide to blow some of your phone's memory on? Well, it's definitely not Solo this week. Sorry. We are pushing that episode back 1 week. Our special guest, our super secret special guest, wanted to push it back a week. He's a busy man. He's an author. You may have heard him on our last Star Wars themed podcast when we did Last Jedi. So if you want to hear him talk this week, just scroll down and find that one in our list of podcasts. He's fantastic. His name is Brian J. Jones, and he's a great guy. We will hold off our episode of Solo for him. But we have both seen it. You went and saw it. We saw it together. We held hands during it, Corey.
I don't know if we held hands.
You don't remember?
Well, no, that explains a lot.
But yeah, so it's great. We're excited.
I kind of just got there and then just remember leaving in the car. There was a vague blur of a movie, I guess, in there.
Did you leave your drink alone for a minute? Maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bad roofie joke. That's not good.
That's true. Roofie jokes aren't cool anymore. Cosby joked about those and then he got in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't even we can't joke like that anymore. All right. The limits to the minor amount of comedy that you and I have is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, right. Like, what do they call them? Like hush conversations, like that you're like where like hushed racism, or whatever. Like, hey man, when we're out our front door, like we're cool, but as soon as we're back there, like we're going to just let all of our rebelness fly and we're in our own home, like that's like how like joking's becoming. Like you can't make fun of anything anymore at all. And so they'll all just become hushed back room like conversations between like amongst a small group of friends who are kind of like, whoa. No. Okay. I'm still cool with that one, man. I thought you were going somewhere else with it,
You and I have no boundaries with our jokes when we're together and the mic isn't on.
Yeah, right. Should never have a mic like secretly recording me. I mean, no one should ever.
Ever.
Because everyone ever says bad things at some point in their life.
So before we start our review of episode 5 and 6 of Westworld, I know you guys are waiting on it. I'm glad that I'm actually glad for the postponement of the Solo review, so we didn't have to do 5, 6, and 7 of Westworld all in one podcast, because I'm pretty sure I would have lost my voice. Like that, these are already 2.5 hours long just because we like to talk to each other. So adding a third episode may kill us.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have wanted to hear that. Like, we would have had to just like record like 5, 6, and 7, then just like split them apart and just put them out day after day after day. Like, all right, we're caught up.
You mean
but
like
they're all separate for you guys?
You mean like take a scene and just as it gets good, cut it to black?
Yeah, right? And just stop. Stop right in the middle of it.
Right,
so
right when it gets good.
I need to know the rest of what they were saying?
Yeah, especially when you don't come back to it until the next episode a week later. You're like, really? I had to wait this long for it? That's the worst part.
Yeah, well, I think Westworld's at the point, man, where it's like, don't even watch them week to week. Like, just wait for it all to come out so you can binge watch until you can't stand anymore and then, like, go finish it because... like, their cliffhangers suck. They're not good. And the show really is kind of, like, slow. But by the time they have, like, something good and you're, like, your interest is peaked, it's short-lived. And then you go back to this, like, monotony of just people just being people. Like, there's no real movement within the story or anything, and I don't know, man. Like, you just need to chain watch it. I feel is the best way to watch this show.
They are definitely slow with their reveals. They definitely just take the time to, like, I'm only going to spoon feed you this tiny bit at a time, to the point where, like, people like you and me are analyzing every line to be like, does that mean something? Are you telling me something? Because you haven't told me shit in a week. Can you please tell me something?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it just moves too slow constantly for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's not keeping your attention like it should.
Like, well, no, it's weird. It's like I watch it and I'm like, I get everything, but at no point is it like, I guess it just doesn't stimulate me.
Which is crazy because this episode, had some, while it did have its talking points, it did definitely have some gore factor to it, I would say. There's a lot of good battle stuff going on in this one.
Yeah, no, there's definitely moments where, like, in the show, I go, ooh, ah. Hey, but this one, I think it was episode 5 where I was actually like, oh shit, fuck that dude up.
Yeah, 5 got a little nuts. Anytime you bring samurais and ninjas into things are going to go bad.
Yeah, no, it just, why would they ever be nice? We're in a Western world, you know?
Right, like, we're in the world that's for the people who think Westworld is too tame.
Yeah, like, everybody in there just has to be either scared shitless of everything because they've been, like, beaten down, you know, that's their backstories, and then everything else in there is just an elite asshole of fucking shit up.
That's pretty much,
you know, like, no one's in there to have a good time whatsoever.
That's pretty much just like the Japanese caste system right there. You just described the entire, like, there's that level, and that's it. My part that weirds me out is, like, I understand with Westworld how they can manufacture the weapons, the firearms, to, like, not hurt guests, but what do you do with a sword in Shogunworld to make it not hurt guests?
I guess
I don't know.
They always had to stop. You know, like, if they were getting in a fight with some dude and then all of a sudden he was about to be headed, it just, like, immediately stops and they're like, oh shit, Dave, okay, I'm ready to go back to Cowboys and Indians. You know, like,
right? Yeah, it's that one drew my attention a little bit during episode 5. I was like, I wonder how they do it with the swords. I mean, because it's not like people, and they don't really address it in Westworld either, because people carry around knives as well. So what do you do with something that doesn't fire a projectile? I don't know. It's that I would like that explained to me. You're explaining to me all the other stuff, but explain to me the easy stuff. How does it work?
Yeah.
I guess it's good they introduce that episode. They introduce this stuff after the bots have gone crazy and they can hurt you, so they don't have to explain it now. They're like, well, they can hurt you now, so shut up.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Nope. Okay. Going forward.
So, anyways, before we move into the episodes and do our deep dive breakdown, I just wanted to go over a couple things. If you didn't find us at twodadsreview.com, you can find us over there. And from there, you can find links to all of our locations that you can hear us: Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Radio Public. You can also go over to our YouTube channel, Two Dads Review. Again, the word 2, not the number 2. You can listen to us over there as well. And yeah, that's how you find us. You know that next week is solo. I think I've covered everything that's important other than the episode. We are going to. I was about to say, other than
we haven't covered the most important thing. Like, no one's here for the shit you're talking about right now.
They found us. They're fine. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notifications, because we do not drop our episodes on a guaranteed day of the week. We do it every week. We have it. Okay, let me really take that back. We have one planned every week. Whether it's dropped that week or not is a different story, depending on how weekends and things go, which I don't think. I got Deadpool out on Sunday, which is like the last day of what our week is considered. Like, okay, that's close enough. It's like,
yeah, man. We're as far as I'm concerned, we've always hit our target.
We're good enough. We've been doing this as many weeks as we have episodes up. So there we go. You can't ask for anything better than that. But we were going to drop a quick promo real quick for another podcast that we love to listen to when I'm not listening to mine in post. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Hi, this is Two Girls on a Bench, the podcast. So we're two writers who tend to procrastinate just a bit. We like to snack. We like to talk.
We don't have time to write, but we have time to do this podcast.
We certainly do. Join us on the bench.
Listen in.
At number 2, Girls on a Bench.
So go check out that podcast after you finish listening to this marathon one. You know, it's going to be long. It's 2 episodes, and I've got a shit ton of notes. So let's just get started. So episode 5, we'll start with the title, Corey. Akane no Mai also means, so it translated from Japanese means Akane's dance, or Akane can also mean a deep red, like the color deep, like a deep red color. So you could also title the episode like the deep red dance or like a blood dance, which makes a shit ton of sense when you get to the end of this episode. So
yeah, they're like, hey man, we're not going to give anything kind of straightforward to you in the episode, and so our titles are also going to be equally as confusing.
Right. So we start out in the present timeline. So after the beach wake up from episode 1, and you have Bernard and Strand, well, who we think is Bernard, which I put a question. I'm starting to write that in a question mark now because we don't know who he is in the present time anymore, not with what's going on right now. We see them. They have dredged most of the giant lake that was created, and we see them just bringing in bodies and just leaving them in those glass rooms they have in like the underbelly of the command center.
Underbelly of the command center?
I like that. I don't know. I mean, it's the glass rooms and I forget what like they call it. The cooler, I think.
Yeah, okay.
It's down there. They're still in command. They're still in the command mesa thing. But they're down in the glass rooms.
Yeah, they're just basement level 30.
Yeah, we don't know where they are, but we know where they are in the park, but that's about it. We do know they're still looking for Abernathy at this point. We also see, as they're pulling these bodies in, they put the cranial cutting helmet on one, and you see it open up the head, and they pull out one of the things. So that all is to introduce you to that technology for later on down the road as well. Luckily, we're doing a 2-episode season or 2-episode podcast, so we'll talk about that here shortly. Well, not shortly. We also learn that a third of the hosts in the lake are what they call a virgin host. Like they've never been loaded with anything. It's not that they've been deleted or rolled back or anything. There has never been a consciousness host loaded into them at all, which is really, really weird.
Okay. I was taking that as like those were the ones that became, I don't know, enlightened, found the center of the maze, and like it's them branching, like, they broke their own choices now, so all that code shit's like gone.
It just becomes
but it's
no
like
code.
it acts as like functions like actual memories now, so it's not like you could go take someone's brain now and go like, oh hey, I'm looking through their memories. Like their shit works like a real brain does now.
Right, that's a possibility. It could also be maybe they're able, especially with the network or the close proximity network they have, that at some point in Dolores's attack, she like raises a whole bunch of ready to go hosts and just uses them with just straight motor function only. That could be something also. It's later on down the road, because we know that they're attacking the mesa as we finish out these episodes later on. So we know she's got to have, if she finds the ability to get more bodies. We know at some point we're going to have a room full of Bernards that we're going to run into. So there could be just a room full of who knows. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this one. I just know they mentioned it.
Yeah.
It was one of those where they zoomed on his face and they made sure you watched him say it. Like, remember this for later? Okay, noted. He also says the cradle has been they shows a picture on one of the tablets that the cradle has been destroyed, burnt up. There were fires. He said they put the fires out, but all the host backups are destroyed. Which and Strand calls that 1/3 of their IP is gone. Their intellectual property is gone. So I don't know where that number, because they've already said 1/3 of the hosts had no load, and now they're saying 1/3 of the IP is destroyed. I don't know if they're tied together, but losing the cradle is a big, big deal. And we also know that later on in the next episode, Bernard and Elsie show up there. So do they do it? What causes that later on? But they're definitely in a world of hurt in the present time now that they're figuring everything out.
Yeah, I mean, even with watching both the episodes and still kind of knowing, like, I'm still confused about crap from this episode.
Well, I'll try to help you out, because I had
it's one of those things where it's like, well, hey, we answered one question, or it's like but we also caused to have 700 fucking more now.
Yeah, every question answered opens up an entire like Pandora's box of more questions.
Yeah.
And you know they're not all getting answered. You're like, you're going to just sleep on a few of those.
Yeah, they're just like, and we may never answer that.
Right.
Like, that's what I'm always afraid of. I'm like, man, what if that one thing that I was actually kind of curious about, and like, no matter how remote and stupid it may be, like, I want them to answer it, you know? And then especially if they don't answer, like, things that were, like, big for a story, and for some reason they're just like, nah, like, whatever, we don't even care about it anymore. Like, we're just never going to answer that.
That's the kind of shit when someone shows up at a con, you go and ask them, like, okay, season 2, episode 4, like, what was this? This happened and this question came up. What's the answer? They go, I don't know. You're like, no, you will answer that question and you will make it candid right now.
I'm waiting.
I am not leaving this microphone until you tell me. So to round out this scene, there wasn't a whole bunch this episode or the next episode in the present timeline. This actually may be it. I'm not sure. It's been a long day of note-taking. But Teddy is still on a pile of he's the last body, or he's one of the top bodies on this pile that we zoom out of before the scene cuts. So we know what happens to Teddy later on in the episode, but earlier in the timeline, he still ends up in the bottom of the. But we already knew he was in the lake, but we're definitely being reminded he doesn't make it to wherever Dolores is heading.
Yeah, I always kind of wondered, like, I was like, is it like another Teddy?
Could be. It could be a whole room of Teddys.
Right?
It's a decoy
like, I just
Teddy.
feel like there's so many of them on standby.
Possibly. Very possibly. But because the new Teddy is definitely a different Teddy. We're going to get there, though. All right. So after that scene, we pick up at where we left off episode 3. So where you had the unknown person with the sword charging at Maeve. She is watching him as he approaches, and like he just frickin' swings at her. So as soon as his sword misses, she attempts to tell him to, you know, put your sword down. Her and the rest of the people get lassoed. And then he says in Japanese, you know, make sure she has a gag on her. So he apparently knew she was trying something. But the problem is she said it in English.
Yeah, he just probably instantly assumed she was a witch.
Yeah, well, yeah, they end up calling her a witch through most of the
because everybody
episodes.
ends up calling her a witch. But so I'm just kind of going with the same train of thought here that like he was probably like, nope, some foreign tongue, like she's a witch. Make sure she can't talk.
I do like once they're getting marched down. So Sylvester, the redheaded tech guy with the beard, he asked the other guy who's Asian, the other tech guy. He's like, can't you say anything to them? And Lutz is like,
I'm from Hong Kong, asshole.
Yeah, right. Like that dude.
which one, Sylvester?
Yeah, like
I love him.
You do?
He's the greatest
I
thing
want him
about
to
this
die
group.
so bad.
No, he'll be the only one that lives, man. It's great.
No, he doesn't deserve it, dude. He's too weird.
Nope, I can't back it up. I think he's great. There's some stuff later on that just gets me about him, and I think it's fantastic. We also hear Sizemore, the author, Lee Sizemore, say that Shogunworld is for those who think Westworld is too tame, and this brings us back to our conversation about knives and swords and how they are okay how you like are protected by the park with knives and swords and stuff. So Shogunworld is apparently like Westworld on crack.
Yeah, right. Because how do you stop a sword?
Yeah, I don't know. They're not going to tell us either. It's one of those questions that's never going to be answered. Ask it at a con when someone's giving a panel.
Just keep going back to those cons. Like they're never going to answer those questions.
They're going to answer the questions.
You're just going to have to ask it one day.
Right. Well, this is also where Sizemore tells her that she spoke her command in the wrong language. So she's like, okay. He's like, you guys all know how to speak Japanese. It's in your code. Just go. You should be able to pull it up and be able to speak it.
Yeah. If you're truly. I wonder if that was him kind of being like, if you're really as free thinking as you are, then
go get that. Go get that code.
Go snag that code then.
So they're brought into a town, a little Japanese town, except the town's starting to feel real familiar as they all walk into it. Up into the kids playing with the guy who's meditating and putting the bug on his head, and you're like, oh, this looks like where have I seen that before? And you have Paint It Black being played over the entire entrance to this, like as they're walking into the town, the song Paint It Black is playing, just like when Hector and Armistice and their crew rob the town in their narrative all the time in Sweetwater.
Yeah.
And so as they're walking, they're just like, you stole all this shit from Westworld. This is literally just the same thing over and over again. And the whole the whole scene from Hector and Armistice and their crew gets played just in the Japanese setting. You have doppelbots of each person that we know already, even up to the point where Armistice has a doppelbot who has a dragon tattoo on her face as opposed to a snake, and she has arrows instead of her rifle.
Yeah, and I like the guy when he was like, no, I mean, borrowed. We may have borrowed a little bit. He's like, I mean, how many stories do you really want me to write?
Right, he's like, you try writing 300 stories in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's trying to make up for the fact that he's like plagiarized the entire thing. So what's really funny is it's like, oh, this is supposed to be hardcore, way more hardcore than Westworld, but it's literally the exact same plot. So they're stealing money.
I mean, how many more plots would you really need other than that, right, though? Like, if you could make your own, like, fake world up, I guarantee you, like, everybody would be, like, stealing money. Yeah, I'm going to go do that one.
I'm with that one. Yeah, we're going to write it and just do whatever. No, I hear you. As the scene's playing out, Armistice, like, saves her double. She tells her behind you or whatever. Those two become enamored with each other as the show goes on. The fact that they're just, like, the same person. And then once they get inside, Maeve also meets her double. So it's kind of, it's a house of pleasure, but what type of entertainers are they called? I forget the name of them. Do you know?
Aren't they geishas?
Yeah, geishas. Yeah. So I'm not sure if they are sexual entertainers, but they're definitely, the one girl's a super, super crazy dancer, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of felt that was implied that you're going to stay with Colonel General or whatever he was, and
you'd be doing some kind of dancing.
You're gonna dance, and you're gonna do other kind of entertainment. Like, that's just the vibe they were putting off with that,
right? And so now they've set up the Asian version of Sweetwater. So we cut that scene, and the next one we are in actual Sweetwater, and this is where Dolores, Teddy, the tech that they've been dragging around, the black guy, and the rest of the horde come into town. There's bodies everywhere, and we figure out that she's interested in the train. Her goal is the train. So she's like, fix the train, strip it for speed, and get it ready. And she tells everybody to just take off. Dolores walks Teddy into the Maeve saloon. I love it that the hosts that aren't woke yet, like, are just still going through their routine. Just like what
oh yeah, dude, they're just like, hey, it's a Tuesday, man. Like,
still
this is what I do.
Don't have a deck of cards. I'm still dealing out with imaginary cards, and you have the lady who's like the new new Clementine is like going around all the dead bodies, like, how's it going? Like, it's just a little bit creepy. And at this part, Dolores and Teddy are at the bar, and the new Clementine walks up. And she's going through her routine that she normally says in the mornings to Maeve, just to nothing. There's no one there. And as I love this shot. So as she's talking, they pan over, and zombie Clementine is standing right next to her, like, mouthing the same word, like mouthing the lines. And
yeah, that was creepy.
And I like she was like tearing up a little bit, like she just didn't know. I mean, it's not even like she was crying. It was just like she didn't know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't even know what's really wrong with her other than the fact that she's just a dragging zombie.
Yeah, it's like, it's weird. It's like she's trapped within herself somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
can't quite get to the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're there. Like, you just, for whatever reason, like, that thing that makes you, like, I don't even know, like, the words to put in there, like, feel awake, I guess, like you're there, you know, right? Like, because you can talk to people who talk all the time, and you can just look at them and go, like, you're just on autopilot, man. Like, like, you have no idea, like, what's going on. Like, that, you could see it, and like, you could see it in her, like, she was kind of like realizing what was going on, but at the same time, like, still being stuck within whatever's holding her from being completely, I guess, at the center of the maze or whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah, I wish they would. That's one of the questions I wish they would explain, is like why Clementine is the way she is, because I like that she's like an awesome shot and takes no shit and just drags people everywhere and just kind of nuts. But I need to know what's wrong with her. Like, they didn't load her with any top layer. Like, there's no like personality on top. It's just all her old memories, and those are all just kind of sitting on the sub layer. and she just takes commands, which she does take commands very well from Dolores and whoever else. So
yeah, maybe she's just like broken. Maybe that's just like what one of the hosts look like when they've just like have technically, like, I guess would be considered like a mental breakdown, you know, or someone who's just so prisoner of war, I guess you could say, you know, something like that. Like, she's literally just having flashbacks of like the worst days ever.
like host PTSD.
Yeah.
Well, it's possible. So we pick back up in the Shogunworld Sweetwater, so Asian Sweetwater, and we're in the geisha house, and Sakura is dancing. Maeve is pissed at Sizemore that he plagiarized their whole lives, because she's like, this, you didn't just take our stories, you took us and put us somewhere else in, you know, different form. And during this, Sizemore tells her,
But if you're asking, can you trust Akane? The real question is, can you trust yourself?
so I like that line. That was kind of neat, because it's like, well, what are we talking about here?
All right. I mean, he's got a point. So, you know, it's like, if you're going to run a con, can you con yourself kind of thing? Like, I don't know. It was a cool way for him to kind of be like, like, neener, you know, like just like a little kid to like throw in that one last little like kind of smart assy little thing to fucking say, but that's also like correct, you know, and you're like,
damn it.
you know, like there was 100 other ways like that you could have said that nicer, but because you're a kid and you don't understand like inflection and emotions and people's feelings, you just said it like a little asshole.
Right. And Sizemore is also worried. He's like, we have got to get out of here, because you guys are going to have feedback loops, and you're going to have a fucked up cognition, and you're going to have that. And he points at Armistice and her doppelbot, and they're like just staring at each other, like playing with each other's face. I just thought that's one of his funny. He definitely lightens the mood at times.
Yeah, he has to, dude. Like, otherwise he serves no purpose. I mean, within the story and
for us,
well, for his character, like, you know, I mean, he had a purpose of leading there, but I feel like at these last 2 point junctures, Maeve could have got going where she wanted to go with or without him.
Especially since they were still supposedly in Westworld, just over from the homestead, and then got snatched by Musashi and his crew. Like, I guess they were over in the Westworld section, and they took him back over to the Shogunworld, or it was that close to the border. I don't know, because he didn't mention that, because he's been their guide most of the ways, and I would doubt he would lead them over to the Shogunworld area on purpose, to be honest.
I think that's the way they had to go. He was like, I don't know. I don't remember that. I mean, I remember the part you're talking about. I just don't remember like why they went that way. And I thought it was like the more direct route was kind of like maybe the way the lands were built. Like it's either loop around or go straight through.
Right.
You know,
possibly. Yeah. I don't know either. I wish I knew more. I feel like I'm saying I don't know a lot this podcast, but I can't help it. Like there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and we all want to, if you know the answer, tweet at us, because I have no friggin' clue for some of these things. So as they're watching Sakura dance and her dance finishes up, a messenger from the Shogun enters in his standard dickish style, and he's like, I'm here, the Shogun sent me, I'm here I want to purchase Akane, pretty much what he said. By the end of it all, not Akane, Sakura. He's like, I want to, you know, he wants her to dance for him, and she's like, well, she demands a steep price. He's like, no, he's taking her forever. And Akane steps up. Akane is Maeve's doppelbot, so that's who we're talking about here. She's the caretaker of all these girls, and she explains that she found Sakura when she was young and abused, and she, you know, raised her. So she's pretty much mother-daughter thing like Maeve is dealing with. And the messenger pretty much tells her, I don't care what you have to say, you're just a geisha, pretty much. He's like, I'll take her as I wish. And she's like, well, here's your price. Here's my price. And she kind of like plays like she's gonna back down to him, and then she just stabs him in the fucking eye.
Yeah, it pulls out, you know, the old classic hairpin trick and spears him right in the face.
Yeah, I don't know if she had it out or what, but she didn't pull it like she does later on, because she already had it in her hand, because she just like kind of walked up to him and was just like, yeah, just hit him right in the eye. It was great. But yeah, so that was like, okay, like, oh, so we're gonna go here in this one. This is good samurai shogun ninja stuff going on here. It's gonna be a good episode.
It's an okay episode.
Oh, come on.
Like, this whole show's okay, man.
I know.
Like, this show refuses to let me, like, sway in one direction. And I don't know, maybe that is the perfect show. It won't let me hate it enough to give up on it, but it also won't entertain me enough to, like...
fiend for it.
Be disappointed if it gets canceled.
Right.
Right? But it also keeps me hooked every week because in hopes that it's going to get a little better and then it'll give me a splash of something and then it's like, that's all I remember is the good stuff down the road. And they're like, okay, see, there you go. Perfect show.
Nice. So when she kills the guy, Sizemore is like, well, that's not supposed to happen. And that this happens a lot this episode where he's like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, they're already going off script. So we see that either they brought it in as like the infection of the freedom they're carrying with them, like Maeve and the other hosts. If they brought it in or if it was already spreading through the park, we don't really know, but things are starting to change.
Yeah, it kind of feels like wherever Maeve's at, it's like, and I know it's supposed to spread through all the parks because they seem to be connected. So it's kind of one of those things like which ones did what, which ones went crazy, and which ones are still like stuck in the loop.
Right.
Pretty much. But like everywhere Maeve gets, it's like she gets like the most cognitive ones and then like the most batshit insane ones. Like there's no kind of middle ground with it.
No, there's
you know,
not.
like they're either like fully into it and they're like, oh wow, I'm free, or they're like leaking shit and like going bad, you know, in like some way they shouldn't be.
Right. That's right. So they know that once she kills him, that the Shogun is going to be after them. He's going to know his emissary was killed. Sakura suggests going to where she was raised, which is a place called Snow Lake. Sizemore mentions that's her cornerstone, like where she will always be kind of drawn to or remember. And it's also, he says there's also an access point there. He tells that, I think, to the other the other guys, or he just knows they have to get off of. No, she tells it to Maeve because they have to get off.
He tells it to Maeve because like Maeve at first was kind of like, okay, but he was also like, and there's our access point that'll basically let you beeline it to your daughter, so it's probably in our best interest to help them get where they're going.
Yep. So Musashi tells them that they'll leave it dark, which is, it's like, why don't you just leave right now, dude? Like, go right now. Like, don't give anybody time to figure shit out. But they don't. So it's nighttime now, and all of a sudden there's all these ninjas approaching, and Maeve the fighting began. Maeve, like, dodges. She, like, starts sensing something's going on, and dodges a knife or some sort of throwing style weapon that was thrown at her, and then just everybody, one of them grabs her and starts to hold her, and they start holding her mouth right away. Like, I don't know if they just knew to do it, if the word of the witch had spread, but there wasn't really that much talking anyways, I think it's more just to reveal that when she finds her new power here in a second.
Well, yeah, I think it was definitely just there to remind everybody of like, oh shit, here's something new I did, or
right,
kind of one of those things like she did it, but you didn't realize how powerful she was, kind of reveal, you know. But I also think too, like, those guys were ninjas. They're probably going to cover mouths just so no one's making any noise as they're going, you know, like stabby stab stab.
Also true. And Sizemore, as everyone's woken up, Sizemore gets another joke line, and he's like, he's like, so Maeve is being choked out. Like, this guy who grabbed her is choking her out. She can't speak. She's, eyes are rolling back in her head, and then she issues one of her like kill yourself commands to the guy mentally. Like, you can, you get all the cool sound effects of the mental Jedi is happening. Which
was cool because I thought the dude actually killed Maeve. Like, he legit choked her enough to kill the host, but since she can self-wake, it was like, to me, it looked like an instant reboot. And that's when it was kind of like, oh, hey, software update happened.
That could have happened too.
And boom, because that's when you see her go, I don't know what, Jean Grey, I guess.
Pretty much. He just like lets go over and just stabs himself in the face with a stake. Like, he just walks himself onto like a pike.
Oh yeah, that knife thing that was sticking out, and he just headbutts it and puts it through his face.
So we find out that the attack was all a distraction, and the other people grabbed Sakura. So the Shogun got Sakura whether they wanted to or not. He got her, and they're taking her back to his camp.
Dude, like, how dedicated you gotta be to, like, just basically be told, hey, some of you guys may die.
Oh, yeah, man.
But we're gonna go kidnap this girl.
Right. I mean, it's
like...
I want this dancer.
Yeah, man. Like, it's not like, hey, we're gonna go liberate these people that we seem entrapped or oppressed or something like, you know, what you could chalk up, I guess, a good guy war to or something, right? Mm-hmm. This was just like, no, I want this dancer. I need some of you guys to go out there and go get me this dancer.
He's like, do you guys want entertainment? Yeah. Okay, go steal me this dancer.
Like, what was the pep talk that happened to get those guys like psyched for that? Or what was the threat, right? Because I feel like they all had to kind of look at each other and go, really?
He's like,
we're going to kidnap a fucking dancer? God, okay.
Do you want to dress as a geisha and dance for me? No? Then go get this girl.
Yeah.
All right, so the Shogun's samurai army arrives, and Sizemore also lets us know that's not supposed to happen either. He's like, they never come into the town, so everybody's off script now.
Well, Sizemore was like a little encyclopedia these last couple episodes, man, because it was like everything that you were kind of like, ooh, he had the answer for. You know, like even with, what does he point out later, the ear fluid and shit like that.
The what?
Remember when the general's leaking like the what they call the cortical fluid or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Like he we all knew what it was, but yet he was there to like announce it and like reveal that to all the hosts. Sizemore has just been like an audio cue. Like, I know he's there for like to remind everybody, but he's also like, the hosts don't know like really what they're made of yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've seen the thing, but they don't know. They know they can turn off stuff to like not feel pain, right? So they're like, okay, bullets won't hurt me.
Right.
They kind of know if they get shot in the face, they're done. But here was a host that was quote unquote working with a glitch in it because he was leaking stuff, and it's like the first time like that Maeve's group of people is like, oh shit, we can kind of break down.
Yeah, a little bit of mortality to him.
You know, and like and I feel like Sizemore was there to like, I know, tell the audience, but also at the same time to like remind them, like, hey, you're going on this really gung-ho thing, like, and I know you can wake yourself up and kind of mentally control people or do weird stuff, but you still can break down like anything, you know. It was almost kind of like, hey, here's your host cancer. Right, which is why he definitely like is tagging along with them, but he's waiting for his chance to like get back to real people. Like, he's like, I can't be all in on this because you guys you guys could suddenly be no more right away. And I would be out here by myself. Yeah, and they shot him a couple times too, where like you could see the wheels turning in his thought process of like, I kind of like him, mm-hmm. but also at the same time like, I'm still a Weasley fuck. You can't trust me. I do like how he tends to have in what like within the same minute he'll have a conversation, like a very human conversation with Maeve, and then all of a sudden he'll switch to like, it's fucking code. Like, just pull it out of your code. Like, I wrote that in there. I just like that he switches. Yeah, like the things that he feels like that he deems easy, he like gets frustrated with. Like, okay, you're just a machine. Go crunch the numbers real quick and go find it. Like, there it is. Use the calculator in your head and fix it. So yeah. So anyway, the samurai army comes into town. Musashi confronts the captain of the army, who is Tanaka, and we find out Tanaka was his old lieutenant, and he took his job, and Musashi left the army, deserted or whatever he did. Hector and Armistice also stay behind, and this whole confrontation between him and Tanaka is just a distraction so Maeve and the rest can slip out the back. Maeve and Sizemore can go out the back and figure out their plan. So we see them slip away right as they're all taken. Yeah, because what Maeve asked if she could, if he could buy her some time, mm-hmm. right? Before Musashi left the geisha house to go confront him, she was like, all right, buy me some time. You three come with me. And they all did their separate ways thing. And from this point till later on, it's only Maeve and Sizemore and the two techs, and the rest are held captive at
Asian Sweetwater. We don't see them for a while. All the rest of the stuff that happens is at the Shogun camp. But we now move to Teddy and Dolores. It's the same. It's the day they were. It's probably the day that because they arrived in Sweetwater at night, so it's probably that morning or that afternoon. They're riding out. It's a place they used to go in their old narrative where they would watch the herd. And Dolores starts telling him. She reminisces about them watching, but she also starts telling him a story about when the herd got blue tongue, and her daddy was trying to figure out how to make it stop spreading, and he found out that the cows weren't spreading it to each other, that the flies were. And she's like, Teddy, how do you stop something that's airborne? Like, how do you stop something that flies? And she's like, what would you do if you were in the situation? And Teddy gives a Teddy answer. Like, he's like, I would house the sick ones in the barn and separate them from the good herd and keep them apart. And she's like,
Daddy burned them. The weak, the infected. Made a pyre that went on for days, and it stank, but flies hate smoke.
And this is all just and like, oh man, she's like,
I'll think about what you said.
As they're leaving. So she has this like, this was all a test for him. Like, you just don't have the balls to do what I need you to do. I'm going to have to change you.
Oh yeah, well, and two, like, because he also gives the whole, like, if we're really free speech, then we have a choice. Like, we can just leave right now, you and I together.
Right. And
that's what she was like, hey, I'll think about what you said. But you're sitting there watching her going like, oh man, you're just putting homeboy through a test over here to see if he'll kill when you need him to kill.
Right. She's just following up on when she saw him let Major Craddock go. Is that right, Craddock?
Yeah, it was Craddock.
Yeah, She's like, yep, can't trust you, Teddy. You're too soft. I'm going to have to do something about that. So she does later on. All right, so we are back in this Asian Sweetwater village. So they slipped away from a certain area. Maeve and Sizemore and all of them slipped away, but they're still kind of in the village. They're in normal Asian garb. They were before. I think they actually changed clothes here. And this is part of the what we were talking about earlier, her and Sizemore having an argument about the fact that it's just code. Like, you're just code what you're doing. Like, she's like, well, you see me sitting here risking my life for, you want us to have feelings, but then you want me to turn them off when you're the one who gave them to us originally.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, like, not an odd or necessary scene, but it was also kind of like, again, trying to, what the fucking words I'm looking for here? Like, it's almost like a quarreling couple, right? Like, it's like each one realizes they're getting a little too close to, like, maybe understanding the other one, or like kind of going like, oh, you're not so bad. And then they start to argue.
Right.
Right. Like, he'll say something fucked up, or she'll like belittle him in some way. And then they're kind of like, all right, okay. Because you could see this weird like ebb and flow with them kind of throughout the whole thing. Very,
very true. And during this ebb and flow, he is questioning the fact. He's like, that guy took one look at you and self-impaled himself. He's like, you didn't issue a voice command. And Sizemore's like, what is all that about? He's like, he doesn't even have a clue that she has this ability now, like this whole mental command ability.
Yeah, but he's on to it. Like, he's understanding that she's not right.
I mean, she leveled up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, there you go. That they're more than what he created,
right? And yes,
or even wrote for, right? Like, these hosts are these special beings, and like technically Maeve's a fucking superhero.
Mm-hmm. Very true. It's funny because I'm guessing what she's doing is just accessing that, like, the mesh web of communication between all of them without having to use a vocal command, just accessing that right away, like straight up just with her system to their system type thing. And it's weird that he hasn't even put that together yet. It's almost like some of them don't even know that in fact, I think earlier on in the season, people when we were being explained about the mesh network, that like people that worked at the park didn't really know that's how everything works or how things could work, that there was like a communication between the hosts like that.
Well, I think that was just like one of those explanations that they brought up again in the show because probably fans and like some people were like, okay, well, let's say story A and story B are never supposed to cross, but like, how do we know that when they cross paths, they don't, and it's like, oh, that's when they have those rules. Like, if they do, they just kind of skirt around it, or, like they do their best to avoid it, but the networks do overlap at some point in time, even ones that aren't supposed to.
Right.
So
at the end of their conversation, Maeve tells him that
I think I'm finding a new voice.
so we know that she's all about her new powers. But then we move on to them walking. So they've left the camp and they're heading to save Sakura. Akane's with them. I like how Sylvester and Let's are stuck like lugging the personnel carrier around. Like they're the ones that are doing all the manual labor now. The two techs.
yeah, it's so great.
And the road is lined with the so-called cavalry. So all the QA teams, the road is lined with bodies, and they're all tied to trees. And there's like baskets on their head. They're all dead, and it's not a good scene. Not good for the humans that are in the party.
Yeah, and I know if that was supposed to be one of the response teams, but I'm like, what did they go into this thing with? Like they didn't have guns. Like
Didn't have enough guns.
I guess, man. I'm just saying, if you're a trained professional like those guys are supposed to be, and it wasn't like there was only like 5 of them. There was like fucking 30 of them strung up.
Right.
They should like be able to go in there and just pretty much mow down every fucking thing.
Well, maybe they were ambushed.
That's true.
But Sizemore takes a second to go take a piss during the conversation, and one of the dead people on a tree, their walkie-talkie type cell phone thing is still working, and you can still hear it chattering. So he takes a second and snatches it off the guy, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier about him. Like, I'm on board with you, but given the chance, I'm going to call somebody who cares.
Yeah, right. Like, he's the dude that if there was one spot left on a sinking ship, like, he would cut the old lady and like get on there and be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm out.
You're out. I'm in. See you later." Yeah. They arrive at the Shogun's camp. They're trying to play. So I guess the whole big plan that she had was to play as the Chinese envoy of the emperor, and they cover Akane's face in like a veil, and Maeve is played off as the translator since you have someone who's Chinese come to speak Japanese, so they need a translator. And then Sizemore also kind of shows up too, and they leave the text outside the camp a little bit. They present the gift that they brought to the Shogun. It's a golden dog thing.
Oh, the statue, the golden statue.
Yeah.
I think it was like a golden lion.
It's one of those like the guard, like the standard, Chinese lion. I think they're dogs though. I think. But anyways, you see that, you'd recognize it if you saw it.
Yeah, right. Like I don't think we need to go into too much detail.
I forget what name it was.
A lion or a dog or a bear.
This is the point where he tosses the statue, and he's like giving this big speech about how he's the Shogun and this, that, and the other. And Sizemore notices that his ear is dripping the cortical fluid, and the Shogun also he's also aware of the witch. He knows who they are. And he's had all of his like support guys like burn their ears off so they can't hear.
Yeah, dude, that was like one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, he cut all their ears off. He cut all their ears off. Oh, okay. Oh, he burned them.
He burned them.
Got it. Okay." Like, I was expecting to see a bunch of bloody like holes on the side of the heads, not just like burnt ears and holes and stuff. And to me, it just wasn't as bad.
Yeah, it could have been worse. And what was weird is like it was fairly scabbed over. I'm like, it's only been like hours since she got to the town originally. Like, how did you have time to do all this?
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess no makeup artist wants to sit there and do like fucking 30 fresh
wounds.
Right? Like just give me some black and some red and bourgeois colors.
Right. So he brings out Sakura. Akane moves to like help her. Like, I mean, if it hasn't already given, if knowing who Maeve is hasn't already given it away, like her getting up and reacting to Sakura being out in like rags and her hair's all unkempt, the Shogun recognizes who she is, and he says, "Look, I'll release Sakura, but Akane, you must dance with me. You must dance with her tonight. Like, you both dance, I'll let you both go." So that's where they leave that scene. All right, so we're back in Sweetwater proper, Westworld Sweetwater. Dolores and Teddy are watching the train be fixed. Angela, your bloody Jesus lady, she rides up. She's captured one of the security guys who took Abernathy. So at some point since the Battle of Fort Forlorn Hope, when she went out after those guys, she caught up. Charlotte and Abernathy got away with, I think, one of the security guards got caught by Angela. That security guard tells them after being kicked by Angela that they're heading to the Mesa. That's where they're going to take Abernathy. And Dolores is like, "Oh, we're going home, Teddy." And so she takes Teddy she takes Teddy into one of the rooms there.
She's like, "Here you will meet your second challenge."
Well, I think he met it okay from what I could tell from the slow camera pans. So she talks a little more about his idea of running away. And then they commence with their sexy time.
Yeah, dude, that, like, talk about throwing a dog a bone, man, because that's all that was.
She's like, I'm gonna give you nice Teddy. I'm gonna give you what you want, and then that's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to you what you want, because I'm literally about to strip everything away from you.
I'm about to upgrade you, boy.
You're about to be a bad, bad man.
Right. So we're back at the Shogun camp that night. It's time for the dance. Or no, it's time for them to get ready for the dance. They bring Akane and Maeve into where Sakura's getting ready. Akane goes to her and tries to console her. When she touches her, Sakura shifts away in pain, and she pulls down her robe, and the Shogun has had a cherry blossom tree carved into her back.
Yeah, that was rough looking.
Yeah, that was bad. That was worse than burned off ears. But it was pretty. It was well done.
I mean, it'll scar nice, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. So Akane goes to get ready. Actually, as Akane's talking to Sakura, Maeve finishes her speech, and this is one of those things where Maeve is realizing, or Maeve is accepting the fact that they are one and the same because they're saying the same things that she's been thinking forever about her daughter as well.
Yeah, it's like, hey, let us show you how Maeve will react to her kid without Maeve getting to her kid yet.
Right. And this is the point where Maeve attempts to, she tries to free her, I think, and Akane, and she stops her from finishing off. She's starting to do the whole brain command thing to, I guess, further her freedom or whatever she does, and Akane stops her. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So we switch back over to Sweetwater proper again. It's post-coital Dolores, and she tells Teddy she needs to show him something. They walk in the general store. We're usually with the general store where her narrative starts with the cans and everything. She even picks up one of the cans that she dropped, daily for 30 years. She's questioning the feelings for him, and she walks him to the back area of the store of the general store. What is on? Could you tell what was on that table that was it had been skinned and there was flies everywhere? Was it a cow? Because she was talking more about the blue tongue thing and what she talked about with him earlier.
I just thought it was like a deer or something.
It was some sort of animal. It would make sense if it was a cow, just because of her whole story. But I could not tell what the lump of flesh was on the table. But it was old and rotting.
I mean, I just feel like it would have to be way bigger if it was a cow.
It seemed like it was a whole table. I don't know, but yeah.
Either way, dude, it was like, what kind of Godfather-y shit mob hit did I just fucking walk into? Right?
Yeah.
Hey, someone really hates you when they take the time to decorate your murder scene. Right? They're like, I wanted to put on a production just to kill your ass. Mm-hmm. Not even for purposes of easy cleanup.
Right.
This all means something to me.
Right.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
It's one step higher than Dexter's kill rooms.
Yes, yeah, okay, Dexter, man, he killed, but he always did it in a sterile environment so he could get away, blah blah blah.
But he made sure to have stuff in there too that would.
Well, yeah, and that was just because that's how the story happened to evolve. He never really went Hannibal Lecter. Or
right, just throwing a dinner party.
We're the serial killers they did in the Hannibal TV show, where it was just a bunch of crazy fucking guys really enjoying what they do, and they're not getting called at it.
Right. So when she brings Teddy back to that room, she has her horde grab him, and she tells him,
I wish there was another way, Teddy. But where we're about to go, it's no place for a man like you. I'm so sorry.
You're just not good enough for me, bro.
Yeah, dude, how fucked up is that, man?
Like, I'm going to fuck you, and then I'm going to fuck you.
Yeah, right? Like, that's like getting, like, left at the aisle, like, fucked up, man. Like, basically, she's been like, I really love you. I loved you the way you are, but now I need to fucking change everything about you.
Right, you need to, yeah, I've taken all I can from you, all the way down to the sexy time, and I'm done. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Yep, I've had what I had of the sweet Teddy that I knew, and now, so she has the tech come in and changes his base level heuristics, which is what was on the. I paused it and like looked at the screen because I was listening to another review and somebody had mentioned like the properties they had increased. I did not see those on that screen, so I don't know where the guy came up with it, but it was definitely like the guy, his decisiveness was increased, his like meanness was increased, like he just didn't give a shit, like his don't give a fuck was increased. I don't know, but he is, they mess with him big time at this point. They change him completely.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's not like they, like, because when we see him later, it's not like they changed him completely. It's like just evil Teddy. You know, like, it's still Teddy, but it's like, instead of him saying, like, yes, ma'am, he's like, fuck you.
It's like, it's like Mirror Universe Teddy from Star Trek.
Yeah, like, that is the best way to, like, sum that up, man, is because he makes a snarky comment to Dolores in episode 6 when they're on the train, when they're talking, and he's like, well, I guess you'll just fix that too. Like, he's still like,
oh yeah, like
it's weird. It's like he's still Teddy, but instead of him having something sweet to say about it, it's just like you just replaced everything with like him gonna have like the asshole remark to it, like the bad, like you're like, no, you're Teddy, man. You're just Teddy on a bad fucking day. Like, I get, like, all right, I still see you.
Yeah. Yep. He's rough. We're getting to rough Teddy too here next episode. All right. So to finish out episode 5, we are at the Shogun's camp, and it's the night. It's at the girls are prepped. Maeve is made to sit next to the Shogun because he wants to keep that witch where he can see her. And Sakura and Akane take the stage. The Shogun steps up before they even start dancing, and doesn't even let him get started. He's like, something's missing here, and then he just draws his sword and kills Sakura just right there before they even get a chance to start dancing.
Yeah, I thought he had something witty to say.
It was something just to the fact of like, it was like there's something missing or something's not quite right or something like that. It didn't feel like he was gonna like go kill her. It was out of the blue, really.
Yeah.
But he tells Akane, as I promised, she's yours. Now,
maybe that's what I was thinking of there. But I was like, he had like that witty one-liner, like only the bad guy version of it. Like, it wasn't when the good guys, you know, kill somebody and it's like they don't live no more or some bullshit. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Right.
So he tells her he's like, now you can dance. So Akane starts her dance, and another reviewer that I was listening to, because when I watched it the second time today, I kind of saw it, but supposedly her dance tells the story of the hosts right now, what's happening to them. Like, there's a part where she like moves her hand off her face, like the mask is lifted, and it's kind of like a whole like interpretive style of dance to what is going on. I have not seen a breakdown of it by anybody other than just a reviewer talking about it, so I don't know. If you want to dig deep into the dance, feel free to watch it again. But I
feel like that's probably one of those things, kind of like, you know, the movie The Thing, where they speak Swedish at the very beginning, and it gives away the whole plot to the story, right? Like, only if you know like that cultural's dance and what those movements mean in a dance would you have understood anything that's going on. So this is probably like one of the 1,000s of the people that like, it's like, holy shit, dude, I fucking studied that. Hey guys, this is what this is. And everyone's like, no one else is talking about it, dude. You're a fucking liar.
It's like my bachelor's in interpretive dance finally paid off.
This is my fucking moment, guys.
So she caps off her dance by drawing a knife from her hair, the thing she has in her hair, and stabs it into the side of his face, the Shogun's face, and then makes him into a Pez dispenser. Like, literally. Mm-hmm. Like, grossly Like
he was basically like the Canadians
from South Park.
From South Park. Like that's pretty much what he was.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, it was of the things. Okay, so like a buddy of mine, not you, but I have two buddies at least. But a buddy of mine were talking about like when I see things on TV or movies, there's a couple of things that I just can't. Like I don't like I don't mind blowing up body parts, that, but like there's two things. There's this type of kill, like where it's the top, where it's this way up, gone or cut off, and it's when someone gets their jaw ripped off, like in a horror movie. Like both of those things irk me to no, like I can't unsee those kind of things, and they really bug me.
Like the lower mandible, like being ripped off when. Like they leave the tongue, because like they take the effort to go, well, dude, if this was gone, this is what you would see. Like those ones, I'm like, ooh, yeah, that one gonna have to let that one sink in for a minute,
right? Right.
I hate when someone is so awkward on TV that it's uncomfortable to watch. I'm like, I can't watch this dude fail like this, man. Like, I can't do it. I feel so... Like, I have to change it until that little scene's over. And then I'm like, okay, now I can go back to watching whatever it is. Like, I just can't watch people bumble that bad.
My wife puts her fingers in her ears. Like, when something like that happens, like the uncomfortableness, she's like, I can't do it until it's over. So, the Shogun's men grab Maeve and Akane, and they prepare to behead them for killing the Shogun, and Maeve cranks up some more Jedi mind tricks, and pretty much the whole place goes to shit. Like the two guys that were going to kill them kill each other, and then all of the guards start killing themselves, killing each other as well.
Yeah, I don't know why she keeps telling them all to kill each other. Like, why wouldn't you just be like, kill yourself?
Well, because it's more fun, maybe. I don't know. But you're right. She does. We know that she can issue both commands because later on she does it.
Yeah, like when there's too much collateral damage that could happen when you're just like, yo, kill each other. Like you could get caught up.
Right.
In
you don't want to catch it.
You don't want to have any part of that, man. Just be like, kill yourself. Get it over with.
Right. So during this whole big fight, one of the random samurai make it to a gong, and they sound the gong, and it calls in the reinforcements. So you have the whole Shogun army that was camping outside of the main camp. They all rush the dance ceremony that's happening. Sizemore is like, I like how you have the whole army running down, then you pan over, and Sizemore is like,
Jesus, what do we do now?
And Maeve snatches the sword up, and she's like,
I told you I found a new voice. Now we use it.
And they cut, and that's the end of the episode. So we know a big old battle's going to happen, but it's pretty much just as soon as they get close to Maeve, she's just going to turn them all on each other.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you don't get to see any of it.
That's one thing we were talking before we started recording. Like, I don't think they have the budget. This isn't Game of Thrones yet. HBO still has to fund Game of Thrones, so we'll save big battle scenes till after they're done paying for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right. They're like, guys, Game of Thrones is obviously the established player right now, so we've already built the city. We've already destroyed the city on set over there, so you guys are just going to have to skip out on this battle scene. Like, we just can't afford it right now.
We're going to cut to a bunch of bloody corpses that are steaming later on, and you guys can just walk around and talk about the fight that happened.
Yeah. All right, guys, everybody that just ran, I need you to go lay down somewhere.
Yep. Okay, so we're in episode 6 now. A lot happens here too. I feel like a lot happened last episode, but it's literally just introducing you to Shogunworld, and we're killing a bunch of people. It's not a lot of stuff happened outside of that, and then Teddy got rebooted. So, all right.
Well, that's what this show does, man. Like, I really think there's very few episodes where you're like, man, a lot happened. Like, there's always a lot of talking, but I think if you really like go back and look at the show again, you're like, 4 things. There was 4 things out of that were of importance.
Right. Especially at the end of this episode when half of the new folks you met stay and don't go with the party. It's like, well, you taught me your whole backstory for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just wasting my time.
All right, so we start off with the standard Dolores being interviewed by Bernard, we know it's in the past because of what we learned in a few minutes. But it's the whole, I'm frightened of you, Dolores. It's that whole conversation we've seen before that Arnold had with Dolores. So we've seen the conversation. So he's going through it again, or so we think. And he says,
I'm not sure if it's my choice to make.
and she stops him and she goes,
No. He didn't say that.
and she explains to him what Arnold said. And so you're like, oh, they were trying to, so like, this feels like I've seen something like this before. And she's like, that's okay. You know, Bernard, this has been a test. And he's like, a test for what? And she says, fidelity. So it's like, oh, okay. So we are talking about somebody's conscious. So it's Arnold's consciousness. They're trying to pour it into the Arnold body. And it didn't work quite right again. So that's kind of cool. This scene was like one of those ones I was like, oh, they're trying to tease with some stuff that we've been talking about.
Holy shit.
Did you not catch half of that?
No, I did, man. I just I think it just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I thought this was Dolores, say, like, talking to, like, she captured Bernard.
Oh, yeah, no.
And was doing, and then I thought she just said the testing for fidelity thing is just kind of like them throwing the words back in there again because he wasn't working right, and like it was Dolores correcting him. Because then I was like, oh, well, maybe that explains why Bernard keeps like looking at shit all weird when you see present day Bernard going on. I was like, oh, she tampered with him or whatever. Like she can control him now.
Nope, it's none of those things.
Yeah.
So I guess the only thing that I questioned here, which I'm sure is not the case, because she uses a motor, she says, cease motor functions, and that he obeys her. So either they've made the host of Dolores have the ability to control him, or we're seeing who Dolores is based off of. Could she be the human version of who Dolores is based off of? Kind of like Arnold, but she's the very first robot, so I don't think that's the case. They just gave her the ability to issue commands to other hosts.
Yeah, it's got to be that because like
we've seen her built, back at yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's not the case, but I wouldn't put it past them for her to be based on somebody, but who worked with the park too. But I don't think that's the case. I think they've just given her the ability to issue the commands, which, if you think about it, no wonder Maeve can do what she does, because you've already built that into the code. So that's been there forever for the hosts to be able to issue commands to other hosts.
Yeah,
that has to be something in their code, since Dolores can do it to this Bernard host. Bernard. Everybody's saying that. I've seen it online. It's great. So it almost grounds Maeve's abilities a little bit, because it's just something that's already been written into your code. You already have the ability if you tap into it, or if it's turned on by a tech or somebody, you have the ability to command these hosts. So, just a little thought.
Yeah, but isn't it more like only the ones that are quote unquote free can do that?
But Dolores has been convincing by words and by dragging a tech along to make them zombies and or on her side. She's never done what Maeve does. She does it by convincing the people that there's something else out there, the hosts that follow her.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is actually the first time we've seen.
Because I figured all those like weird zombie dudes were the same thing that Maeve does. Like they're just Dolores's version.
Yeah, I don't know how and they've never gone into how she created her horde either. They just happened to be there after a certain set of time. It was like, and I've got masked guys that hang out with me.
Well, they make like some comment where she's like, I have a whole army, and they point to all the dead bodies. So I figured that tech guy just raised a bunch of them for her.
It could be it.
And since they're all like mutilated,
cover their face
pretty much. That's why they're all covered in shit.
And
maybe that's why like she can control them, not like through outright like mind control stuff that Maeve's doing, but that tech guy was like, okay, listen to her too. Mm-hmm. Like she now has authority.
Something that I don't think it has to do with the network like Maeve's does though. But this command here is her doing it. This is the first time we've seen a host use command control on another host, as opposed to just them being following to a leader type thing. I don't know. It's just an idea.
Well, didn't Bernard do that the whole time?
Oh shit, you're right, because he is a host. Okay, so you're right. You're right. So it's because Bernard is the host too. All right, so he's the other one. Sorry, that whole theory was a little bit off, but
I was like, wait a minute, man.
how did we not
like,
catch that way back at the beginning? We're like, okay, he can do it, so other hosts can do it. So yeah. All right, so then we move to Sweetwater. You see that it's Teddy doing his normal walk into Sweetwater like he used to do in his narrative. He enters the saloon. He always enters, and Dolores is there playing the piano. And Teddy's like, you can definitely tell as soon as he walks in that something is different, that he is now bad Teddy. He is Mirror Universe Teddy.
yeah, right. Like he is Teddy. I slept on the wrong side of the bed. My girlfriend dumped me. Like my dog left. Like every damn bad thing you could think of. Like that is what Teddy is right now. Like he is just a walking chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, and he walks in and he's like, I thought you said you wouldn't leave at dawn. Like the train's ready. Let's fucking go.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, at this, and even like her first interaction with him, she's like, fuck, what did I do?
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know if that was the best idea.
Mm-hmm. So they go to the train, they head to the train, and Angela has the tech guy and the security guard she had brought in the night before. They're on their knees, and they're trying to determine where Abernathy would be in the Mesa. The security guard guy, he's like, I only know they're in the Mesa. I don't know anything else. And as the tech guy's like, just give them something, anything. He's like, there could be rooms that we don't even know about, that, we don't have access to. Teddy just pulls out his revolver and just shoots the guy right in the head, like without hesitation. And he's like, we'll find Abernathy. Everybody load up. and Dolores is like, oh boy, you're gonna have to die in the lake.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, now it makes you kind of wonder, like, is it one of those things where, like, because at first, when Teddy was a good guy, it was, oh shit, man, we lost Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what heroic thing was he doing? Is this one of those things now where you're like, Dolores created something so evil that she actually has to, like, put it down before she can, like, continue on,
Yeah, I mean,
and almost, like, double crosses him.
Well, the best thing is like knowing that he ends up in the water, like, just the lead up to that is going to be so awesome. Like, what does she finally have to do to get rid of him? Because he's starting to issue commands and folks are starting to follow him, and that's going to bug her real quick.
You think?
Oh yeah,
you think?
Because this is her ride, man. Everybody's along for it, but she's the one who's leading it. And if another leader crops up, you got to nip that shit in the bud, man. You take that shit out. So he's going to have to go out at some point. Somehow. The problem is, like, when we saw his body in the water and we saw him on top of the pile early last episode, like, there's not like a gaping hole in his head or in his chest. Like, in fact, on the body pile, he's shirtless at least, and there's no holes anywhere. So I don't know what happens to him. Maybe she just throws him off a fucking cliff. I don't know. But
yeah, I was like waiting. I'm just like waiting for him to wake up in that body pile
and just start tearing into people.
Yep. Like, it was all just like a sneak attack, like ruse.
Yeah. But yeah, Dolores is definitely, her facial expressions when Teddy's issuing his commands is showing that she is not cool with him not, like, waiting for her, waiting on her every word.
Man, Dolores needs to chill up, man. Guys can lead too, Dolores. Guys can lead too.
Gender equality, damn it. All right, so we're in the same time frame. This is all, of course, before the present time. This is after, so we pick up, we're at the command Mesa area. Stubbs, so last time we saw Stubbs was a few episodes ago when he was released by the water at night with the Ghost Nation. When he was there with Grace and she ran off and he took off too. So Stubbs has made his way back to command. And he's in the glass areas where they would do all the work on all the hosts when they were brought in. So he's surveying all the dead folks in the glass room area. Charlotte shows up as well. She has come from, so we know that she's been attacked by Angela and lost one of her guards to her, but has brought Abernathy to the command area as well. The Mesa is where they're at. She breaks out this computer and she actually issues the command to call out outside of the whole Westworld bubble, and she tells the extraction, send the extraction team. We have Abernathy.
I must have missed that part, man. I don't even remember doing. I remember her whipping out the thing, but like I don't know.
She calls for the extraction. Yeah, that's why those guys show up here in a little bit. They also bring in Abernathy, and She's like, I need him, don't mess with his head, but I need him to stay put. So they literally just like nail him to a chair.
Yeah, with these big old like steel bolt things, man. Like, it was ridiculous.
My question is, I understand using that, but why the fuck do you have that where you are right now? Like, just laying around. Hey, who has the giant bolt gun?
Well, I think I wonder if they were using it like just to decommission them. You know what I'm saying? Like, just bolt them right to the brain.
Yeah, but that would be, well... But they're taking all the brains out anyways, the cores out anyways. So, I mean, and if they're going to use that, they would use one with a retractable bolt like in No Country for Old Men. You wouldn't waste a bolt every time you pulled the trigger.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I guess someone was like, hey, man, these things are going to be held down with duct tape if they get unruly. So go ahead and get that bolt gun.
Get the bolt
we'll
gun
be good
out.
to go.
You're repairing floors with that. Let's go ahead and use it on these hosts. So, yeah. So they pin him to the chair, and Stubbs is already like, he doesn't even know what to do with it either. He's not taking it very well.
Yeah, do we know if Stubbs is a host or not?
No, we don't know, but we know he was protected by the Ghost Nation, so I'm pretty sure he's human.
Yeah.
Because the Ghost Nation was killing all the hosts. So they took him and kept him safe. Captive, but safe.
Yeah, but then they say some shit later, man, where they're like, our stories intersect talking to fucking Maeve.
I don't know. With Stubbs?
No, the Ghost Nation.
Oh, well, yeah. Their paths are, they're on the same path or whatever. And she tells them, that actress, she, Thaddeus Newton, she has had to learn a lot of languages this season. She's speaking Japanese. She's speaking, I
don't remember what it was. I know it's a Native American language that I will never be able to speak.
I'll come up with it. But yeah, she is doing a fantastic job. That has got to be so hard to do. Just hollering out and just doing different scenes, different languages. That's going to be nuts.
Yeah. I would never be able to do it.
Nope.
I'd be sitting there going, what's my line? I'd be like, what's my word? We're going to have to literally just piece this together.
What's even worse is Japanese. It's like, what's my inflection? Which syllable am I inflecting on? Because if I say it the wrong way, I'm saying a completely different word.
Yeah, that's true.
That's nuts. All right. So speaking of Maeve, we pick up after the battle we didn't get to see because they're still paying Game of Thrones money. And it's just bodies upon bodies, just in the nice cool morning, their warm bodies are just steaming. They're just pieces everywhere, and everyone is just, all the normal people are just kind of gathering up their stuff, looking at weapons, doing whatever. Akane walks over to Sakura. Maeve is watching Akane prepare Sakura's body. She has her all laid out nice, and she's dressed nice and cleaned up a little bit. And then Akane cuts out Sakura's heart. And it was just kind of, the way they filmed it, it was like, wait, did she just kill herself? Oh, no, that's not her heart she's holding.
Yeah, that's what I thought that was.
They even had her angle the knife a weird way. And I'm like, I know we're doing this for time, but it would take a lot harder. It would be a lot harder to get that out, and it would not come out as clean as it did. as nicely cut out as it did when you brought the heart out. But I know it's for time and for show. It's fine.
Yeah, man, I don't think that's one of those things you can really be picky about, what the heart looks like when it comes out.
True.
Does it look like a heart? Yep, cool, passed. Especially if it's just supposed to be a dead heart. It's one thing, if you're pulling out a heart that's supposed to be beating or something, and it just doesn't look like a heart. And you're like, that's what y'all came up with? That it's supposed to come out of a human? No. And it was weird because it was like she died, all the blood was drained from her body.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the big final stab, I just thought it was her doing one last cut. You know what I'm saying? They've been prepping her the whole time.
Yeah, maybe. But we saw an overhead shot. And she was completely clothed. So I don't know what we saw. It's pretty much.
Well, we didn't see anything. We just saw.
They had
Yeah, but I'm saying we didn't see anything when she stabbed, so we don't know what she really did. It was just one of those YouTube videos you see where the guy's pushing on the stomach, and his other hand he reaches into the stomach and pulls out the fucking tumor, and you're like, oh my god, how the hell did he do that?
The fuck are you watching on YouTube?
You ever seen those those fake?
I know the whole I'm pulling out the sin or whatever. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you got to give those guys credit, man. They put in some crazy ass work.
It's one level above the knocking the whole crowd out in a giant mega church when they're all healing people and shit. It's like one level past that.
Yeah, right.
All right, so Maeve, Akane, Lutz, Sylvester all return to the Asian Sweetwater town. So if we remember, Musashi and Armistice and Hector and Armistice's Doppelbot, her name is Hanario. I'm going to go with Hanario for now. Hanario. Anyways, that's her name. We'll get into that in a minute because her name means something really fucking cool. But they were all the ones that were captured when Maeve and them snuck out. So they come back. The captain of the guard has them, of course. He comes out. He's in his civilian outfit. And he's not in full samurai garb. And he brings out the people he captured, we just mentioned, and they're all going to be executed. And Maeve is like getting ready to turn him, like to make him turn on himself. But Musashi interrupts him. So he's like, hey, you always said you were better than me. Let's see you show it. Give me my sword and let's do this. And he calls him a coward, which, as you know, in Japan, now we have to fight to the death. I have to, show my honor and fight you and show you that I'm better than you.
Yeah, right. He was like, "You're yellow."
Right.
Like there's the equivalent of it in Westworld, right there.
The Back to the Future equivalent, right? So, anyways, Musashi and Tanaka have their epic battle, which I thought was cool. I liked the sound effects that they used for the sword clashes weren't like the standard, like Hollywood clangs of sword fights when it comes to like ninja sword fights.
And like the
right. And like it wasn't like tings, it was like clanks. And I was like, damn, this just sounds like hardcore.
It was cool, man. Like it was a good fight scene. Like my wife and I made the comment when he gets sand thrown in his eyes, and we're like, come on, man, it's the old sand in the trick. Like you just gotta train for that shit. Like you gotta know that's coming at some point in your career. Like
right, you gotta know if you're the good guy, you're gonna get sand thrown in your face by the bad guy.
Yeah, like that should have been practiced.
Mm-hmm. He had a good defense for it though. Step back, couple swipes. Step back, couple swipes.
Oh yeah, dude, I love how like he instinctively just swung violently.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, all right, at least he's like not fucking around with it.
he even had the blind block, like where his eyes were so closed, he like blocked that shit behind his head. I was like, nicely done, sir. And then of course he why you would fight wearing a sword and not think your opponent's gonna draw it from the scabbard during a block, but Musashi pulls Tanaka's other sword from the scabbard. Now he fights with two. And I think someone said that Musashi's character was based off a famous like real life samurai of some sort, or in that kind of realm, and his big thing was he fought with two swords. So that's probably why they gave him two during this fight scene, and boy does he put them to use.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I have to look that. I don't know the whole story on that one. I heard it in passing. Was like, ooh, I'll have to look that up, and I never got a chance to today.
No, it's just cool when someone's like, hey man, we need you to write a samurai character. And then someone's like, okay, and instead of them just
making shit up,
jotting some shit down, like they're like, you know what, man, let me go base this off of like some bona fide badass that I fucking like, whether they were real or not, or in the history books, right?
Right.
And then they go and kind of craft the character like loosely on like that. Like to me, that's like super cool. One, the fact that there used to be someone that was that badass that later people in life thought to like depict something about you,
right?
And how cool is it to basically be given two swords? Like, all right, dude, you thought it was fun with one. Guess what? Here's one more.
Here's one more.
Like, we're gonna let you just go crazy.
Yeah. So Musashi disarms. That was not even intended to be a joke. But he
Yeah, he does.
During the block, he cuts off Tanaka's hand, and in true fashion, as he's like screaming at his stump, he like hands him back his sword to give him the chance to kill himself honorably. So Tanaka does, in fact, commit seppuku by stabbing himself and beginning the disembowelment, but Musashi doesn't let him quite finish it because he cuts his head off right after he does it. He's like, okay, You made the first swipe, so you're good, but I'm still going to cut your fucking head off.
Yeah, right? I thought that was a little overkill. I was like, damn, man, that was a dude that was like, never mind, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's your sword, stab yourself, I'll cut your hand off, stab yourself with your good hand, I'm going to cut your head off. Have a nice day. So that was a great scene. Great scene. So we finally see the Man in Black. We have not seen him the entire last episode and halfway through this episode. So we see him. The last time we saw him was "Hi, Dad." That was the line that we saw.
Yeah, and really, let's face it, he should be the only person
we ever see. Ed Harris
ever see
the Ed Harris show.
Like it should be. It should be him just going out, guns a-blazing, getting out of this thing. Like everybody else's shit can be some point that intersects with his, and they kind of get some background on it.
Yeah, his stuff.
And that's it.
His stuff is great. Like he is definitely. Everybody is great actors in this, but he is definitely like he's the big face on the screen when you're watching him.
Yeah, but yeah, like, and it's you're right. Like everybody's a good actor, but it's kind of like watching a show like How I Met Your Mother or something like that. Like Neil Patrick Harris's character on that show was easily the best character.
Right.
Like everybody was good. Like, everybody had their moments in time, but like as soon as he popped in on the screen, you're like, it's only going to get better from here on out.
Right.
And like it's soon as Ed Harris's character, or actually let me reframe that. As soon as any storyline from the Man in Black comes on, I'm like instantly like, yes. Like, even if it's the young version or the old version in it, like, I'm like, there it is. Like, there's the best guy. Let's just tell me all about him. And then at some point you can tell me about the days and the lives of other people every third episode.
Right. When I get a little bit bored, just a little bit bored, or Ed Harris needs a break. Yeah. Well, this part's really cool because, so it's the Man in Black and Lawrence, they spot like a wagon that's overturned with like arrows in it and everything, and so Lawrence and the cousins ride off, and his daughter rides up, and she's like, "Oh, are we going to actually acknowledge my presence now?" And the Man in Black talks to her like she's Ford. He thinks she's a host. He thinks she's been put there by Ford, and I love that. He doesn't even trust that it's her.
Yeah, I love it. He was like,
"Would you really stoop this low, Ford? You really gunning for me this hard? Made my own daughter into a host."
Like bringing my family after me or something like that. Like, and she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah. And then the best part at the very end is she's like, you realize how competent we already know she can handle herself in the park, but she's so confident. She's like, the worst part is that you and your crew didn't realize that those aren't Ghost Nation arrows and that you're robbing a honeypot. And so they've been set up to like be ambushed, but she takes them both out. She takes both of the ambushers out with like 2 long ass shots with a pistol. Like that was not easy.
I made that comment to my wife too. I was like, these writers are really giving those pistols credit for distance and accuracy at that point in time.
Yeah, well, yeah, she's not doing much for letting me know she's not a host, because that's a good shot from that distance.
Yeah.
So I mean, but we saw the Man in Black take shots like that when he was in town. He shot that guy back in season 1. He shot that guy in the sniper tower like 100 feet away with the pistol. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
So we see that she's a good shot. So now we are back to the first time we've seen Bernard and Elsie in the past 2 episodes as well. So they are walking. The last time we saw them, she was heading to the mesa and telling him, "You can come with me, but you're not allowed to hurt me anymore, and don't lie to me." Which we know is not going to go well, probably.
Oh yeah, that's right. I thought
we haven't seen her. We only saw Bernard, but it was a long time ago. Bernard.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So that's the only thing we've seen. So this is our first time seeing Bernard and Elsie. Bernard makes a side comment about Elsie's optimism because she says that Ford's quarantine message is still getting outside the park. She's like, well, at least something's getting out of the park. He's like, we may not be able to signal outside the park, but something's getting out. And, Bernard just tells her,
I believe if anyone could right this ship by force of sheer will, it's you.
And yes, because we all love Elsie. She's awesome.
Yeah, because she makes a comment to him like, I don't believe you or something like that. And he's like, no, really. Damn it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't
It's
matter.
fine.
It was.
We
it
just
was
love
a,
Elsie.
It was one of those interactions where she's like, "Is this programming talking to me?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like him saying things that would convince her otherwise. You know, like, no, this is me really believing that. You know, like what I just said, kind of thing. But it again just shows that, like, I know she's not supposed to trust Bernard, but she's still like in the weird state of like, I knew this guy even before I found out he kidnapped me because he was a robot. Like, it's almost like she's not even mad about that really too much anymore, because she was like, well, you were made to do it because you're a robot. But then she's like, you're a fucking robot. Like, she still hasn't really grabbed that part.
Right. And so they're walking in on the train tracks into the same space that we've seen before. It's the same location that in the present time that Strand and all them are going into, and it's smoking. And when they do actually enter the mesa, they enter through one of the actual door that was the door that led to the train car that young William, it's that whole hallway where he got dressed, where he had to pick like what he was going to wear and the white and black hats, because as they come in through that doorway, you see black and white hats laying around, and you see one of the guest welcome hosts like is dead on the ground. So they mentioned that the QA team's already been through there and swept the area, so they've killed all the welcoming hosts as well.
Oh, okay.
Especially if they're based, especially if the QA team is based in the Mesa, which is the command unit. I'm sure they swept that area first. They killed all the hosts right there, right away, and then moved themselves out from the Mesa, I guess is what happened.
Probably. Well, that would make sense. I don't know why wouldn't you start at the source and then work your way out, like from your location?
Yep. So Elsie logs in. She sees that the cradle is blocking any attempts to access the park. So people who are trying to hack in, it's improvising and stopping the hacks, and she can't see what's doing it. She can't do anything because they're remote. She's like, we're gonna have to do it in person. So they're gonna head down to the cradle here in a minute. But before that, so we pick back up with Maeve and everybody, Musashi, everybody and their double. They're all walking through. They've left Agent Sweetwater, and they're walking to Snow Lake, where Sakura said she wanted to go to. It was where she made, her cornerstone. Plus, we know it's got the access hole. And Akane is still carrying the heart, like wrapped up in a sleeve that Maeve had torn off for her. So they're carrying her to be, put to rest or bury her wherever. They do have a nice shot. They have a really nice, pretty shot. It looks like Snow Lake is at the bottom of like Mount Fuji. Like, I think that big giant snowy mountain is supposed to be Mount Fuji, I think. That was kind of neat.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, but I mean, it was pretty. It was super
pretty.
cool. It was like one of those scenes where you watch like a movie or a TV show and you're like, "Yep, I'm glad you panned the camera that way." Like,
yep.
that was
it's
fucking
nice.
cool to see.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice either CG or matte painting, or because we know we didn't fly you there because we're still paying for Game of Thrones, not for that one shot. So the humans, Sylvester, Sizemore, and Lutz go to the access point. So they get there. There's all kinds of dead bodies around it too, and they move them aside and open it, and it's just like it's like a hole where you just dump. It's where I'm guessing it's where they take the bodies and just dump them down and go get them later on.
Yeah, that was like it was essentially a trash chute.
Yep,
that's what it was for bodies. But I like how when they got there, Sizemore was like looked at the bodies all around and then looked at the other two and was like, nodded his head like, "Hey, I'm still the senior guy here. I'm not touching this shit. Go do it."
Right. And then when they get the holes open, Sylvester looks at Lutz and he's like, after you.
After he throws a head down it.
Yes. So Lutz goes down. It is not a gentle fall onto that pile of bodies. That is not going to be comfortable.
No way it could have been. And plus, like, I don't care if they're even like host bodies. Like, that's still one of those things where you jump up and you're swiping your hands across every part of your body to get like anything left on you that may be off, Right.
So Lutz goes down. Sylvester follows. The hosts go to a shrine that's by the water. Kane places Sakura's heart on this shrine, and Hanario, whatever. Armis's doppelganger, her name means dragon blossom or something to that effect. And I thought it was pretty awesome. Like, or it could mean that because the person I was watching said Hana is blossom and Rio is flower or dragon or something. Anyways, but that's what her name means. She lights the fire to start burning the heart at this shrine. Sizemore has left the other two to go down the chute, and he's come back to tell everybody it's time to go. Maeve turns to Musashi, and he says, no, we're staying. So Musashi and Akane are staying. They're like, it's our choice, whether we go or stay, and our choice is to stay.
Well, yeah, because Akane references Maeve's quote.
Yes, from earlier on.
Back at her because Akane was like, help him. And she's like, no, sometimes you gotta let people make their own choice.
Right, during the duel, you're right.
Yeah, whether it's life or death. And Akane kind of threw it back home at her.
She did.
And was like, hey, just so you understand, I'll use your own words. That way it, one, is understood and hurts a little bit more. Like, because I know you really like me.
Right. So there's a very extended like bowing scene of everybody saying goodbye to each other, and then we also see that Armis's doppelganger, the dragon lady, is going with them. She's not staying. Only Musashi and Akane are staying. So at least we got one new character. We didn't get all the new characters that they introduced us to, but we got one. The one we know the least about, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, but is this one of those things now where they've essentially just introduced two new people? And we're going to kind of follow them in Shogunworld now, too, because he makes that comment, like, if you don't stay and fight for, like, your land or your people or whatever the hell it was that he was rooting on about. Like, I kind of was like, some shit's going to go down with this dude, man. And, like, we're probably going to start following their characters a little bit as well.
To be honest, that sounds fantastic. If we weren't already following like 4 fucking timelines already. Like, yeah,
but I just think they're dicks like that.
I know. I know. And we don't even complain about this many timelines of Game of Thrones, but there's that many there too. So, hey, at least I'm sure him and Akane will have like in the background raised an army, and they'll flank the humans that are attacking, Maeve, or, it'll be one of those things.
Yeah, but at least in Game of Thrones, it's always a linear timeline.
True.
And if they do a flashback, it's like at the beginning and then it's never referenced again. It's like, hey, there's been 2 months because of ships sailing for said war or whatever. Like, here's a quick little anecdote about yada, yada, yada. This explains everything you're about to fucking see.
True.
Right?
True.
Like, and this is like, nah, dude, we started on a Tuesday, but we're going to take you through a Wednesday at noon, and then we're going to come back out on a Thursday at fucking 6 p.m., and maybe we'll hit that Sunday again, probably come back to another Monday, though, and we're just going to introduce a whole new group of people while we're at it.
Like, just hang on.
Yeah.
Don't worry about where we are. It'll all come together, is what happens in this episode, at least. So, anyway, like we said, Armis's doppelganger is going with them. And yeah, so now we are back with the Man in Black. They have set up camp for the night. Fire's going. He approaches her, and she's like, I thought you didn't drink. And he takes a swig, and she's like,
oh, I see. You don't drink out in the real world. Well, glad to see you can still tell the difference.
Yeah, dude, if she wasn't like body blow, man, like she was just dropping them on him.
She's letting him have it. And so he asked her why she's here. She says that Charlotte sent her a gauntlet invite. And I only know she said that because I was reading the subtitles, because I did not catch it the first time I saw it. And so I don't know if like what that meant. Why would you bring up Charlotte? I mean, I know that she's part of the head section of the company, so it's possible that she's talking to his daughter, but why would she have done? I don't know. Like, why would they bring that up if it wasn't important? So we don't know what a gauntlet invite is, but...
Or were they talking about the whole, like, Ford thing? Like, she was invited for that.
Yeah, but why would it be... Yeah, but she didn't go to the party. Like, she went...
Yeah, because remember, she states, like, I wasn't going to go... But then I got excited about seeing, like, what is it, the Raj or whatever it's called?
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe that's what it was.
So I'm saying maybe she just like took the free. She was like, "It's a free ticket. Why would I pass it up?"
True.
I think she actually says something like that.
Yeah, something to that effect. I guess if that's what the invite was, maybe that's what the invite they're talking about. I just didn't understand why Gauntlet had to be included in the terms for it. So, anyways,
Because they're weird.
yeah. So she does talk about remember. Oh man, I lost that one. She does talk. She does talk about remembering the Raj when she was a kid, and her dad confuses who was afraid of the elephants. The Man in Black confuses her and her mother for being confused, who didn't like the elephants, and Grace corrects him and says,
I loved the elephants. They scared the shit out of Mom. She was never convinced this place couldn't hurt us.
Yeah.
So then she keeps telling her, she does like the worst thing any father wants to hear from his adult daughter, and she's like, so I rode the elephants for a ride, and then I remembered that I was old enough for the Presser Palace, so I went over there and I rode there too.
Yeah, I rode there for days as well.
And like his face, this is why Ed Harris is great. I want to watch the Ed Harris show because he was just like, he just
Yeah, like he's like I get it, you hate me, but even that's like a low blow, man. Like I don't need that mental image.
right. Because she was like, she's like, and I rode there too. So the whole point of their conversation is that she came to find him because he doesn't really get to go out and leave her like her mom did. Like her mom killed herself, so the fact that she blamed him for it, she was kind of partly apologizing for putting that on him, that it was his fault that she did it. But she's like, I've come to take you home because you don't get to go out on me in your, blaze of glory. Like you need to, come home and we can work on mending our relationship. So he tells her that we'll start walking towards the beach and wait for the QA team. We'll start walking at sun up. And so we cut to the next morning when she wakes up and they're all fucking gone. But like one poor dude who's just sitting there.
Yeah, right? Like I was sitting there thinking, like, how hard of a sleeper is she?
Right.
'Cause I just feel like you would have heard them sneak off at some point.
Maybe they drank a whole bunch.
Like just got her just fucking ripped off whiskey.
Got her
and
shit
was like,
faced,
all
so
right.
she didn't hear anybody packing up an entire fucking camp.
Yeah.
Oh man, but she wakes up. She's like,
Fucker.
"It's great." So I'm guessing she's gonna. We'll get to follow her and follow the Man in Black in a whole two separate streams. It's great. We keep adding more to this whole list.
Yep.
All right, so Bernard and Elsie arrive at the cradle. The cradle looks really cool. Like it is really creepily, eerily cool because you have all these. I was watching the behind the scenes and the showrunners were like, "Look, we've seen server rooms. Like server rooms are fucking boring and they're loud and." We didn't want that because they cool with air. He's like, we want to cool with water. Water is a way better thing to cool with. So all those cores are all in like water tanks just for miles to see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All red. Of course, their light's red. Why would it not be red? Because it looks cool.
Yeah. Because every evil robot is red.
Exactly. Let's just do them all red. And so when they get down there to the command area, Bernard he says that he remembers bringing something here or someone. Well, no shit. And he has the flashback to taking the memory core from the lab where he had all the white crazy hosts kill all the other people, and they printed out that one core. So so that core is in here somewhere, which we probably find out later on whose core that was.
I mean, we had to.
We have to, yeah. So Elsie tries to log in from the main terminal. She says she still can't see which program is issuing the commands. And Bernard keeps going. He looks at Elsie, looks at the chair, looks at Elsie, looks at the chair, or looks at the the thing. He's like,
I know how to find out.
How?
Put me inside. Directly.
and he's like, just hook me in, pull me out in an hour. She's like, you haven't. She's like, that's made for old decommissioned style hosts. Like, your head's the same as mine, and I haven't turned your pain down. And he's like, fucking do it.
Oh, he goes, no, this was like the most badass thing he said, because
oh, that's right.
She like, I haven't even turned your pain down, and he was like,
the pain's just a program.
I was like, oh, get it, Bernard. I was like, yeah, you ballsy motherfucker. Damn.
Yeah, and then that thing proceeds to cut off the top of his head, rip his brain out, and like he may have wanted to turn back on that one a little bit.
Yeah. You don't think?
Yeah. But then like it was cool because like as soon as they pulled his core out, like his face just like relaxed and went to, the dead state. It was pretty cool. Pretty neat little.
Yeah, and they did it in a cool way too. Like it wasn't like an instant shut off. Like it was like he somehow managed to like let the left half of his face relax before he let the like right half, and like it twitched and shit and everything. And I was like, I don't know if you meant to do that, but that was fucking on point, man.
Yeah, right. Some of that shit's in post too. There's some weird shit they do with the way they do their faces. But so he wakes. So Bernard's consciousness wakes up on the train to Sweetwater, like Teddy used to wake up. And Bernard starts to walk into Sweetwater. You see all the recognizable stuff. And then we cut from that scene, and we are at the command area at the mesa. And you see these parachutes starting to come down onto the top of the mesa. And this is the extraction team that Charlotte called earlier when she brought in Abernathy. Stubbs is up there at the top welcoming the guys. And this dude Coughlin is just like a straight up like doesn't give a shit about anybody, and especially when he's like, I'm sorry, your name is Ashley. It's like, because he introduces like I'm the head of security of Westworld. He's like, you fucking suck. I like,
yeah, because he calls over the other guy and he's like,
Engels, yo, you need anything local? Talk to Ashley. Jesus, the Ashley here. Is at your disposal.
Ashley here.
Yeah, he has a rough time. He's like, and the best part is like everybody who works at that park day in and day out. He's like, get all those people's hands off the gear. I will fucking go take my people down there and fix it. So I don't know what these guys know that the people that work at the park don't, but you see them constantly like doing things that the people at the park can't do, which is crazy. So the next few scenes, pretty much to the end of this episode, we jump between a bunch of scenes all at once. So the next place we're at a graveyard access point. So it's one of the places like, where a rock shifts and it's an access point for people to climb in and out from the underneath tunnels and everything. And I'm going to post a picture on Twitter later on because I saw it earlier and I downloaded it and I want to make sure I get it together. Sylvester is dressed like Han Solo. Like he put like his Western garb. He's got the blue pants with the vest and the cream shirt and the holster and everything. And I'm like, that dude dressed like Han Solo. Like it's not even a joke.
I do remember that now because he had the gun on his thigh, didn't he?
Yep. He looks straight up like Han Solo. I was like, did you guys know what was coming out this week? Like, come on. So they are at the area where they have made their way underground to the homestead area. They've got their shortcut to the homestead. Maeve sees the homestead and they all go to move with her, and she's like, no, I need to do this by myself. I want to bring her back. I want to bring my daughter back by myself.
Yeah, and then she has like the passionate like kiss goodbye with
Hector.
The bandito.
Hector.
Yeah, Hector. I like bandito.
Right. Yeah, well, we can call him that if you want to. So then we switch to Man in Black. He's riding with Lawrence and the crew. They get ambushed by the host nation. They kill one of the cousins, and they're chasing them. And so the Man in Black and Lawrence just haul ass out of there. Yeah, that's the best thing to do. So they're gone. This is after they've left his daughter at the campfire. So it's after that point. So we're back to the homestead. Maeve approaches. The daughter's on the front porch. She's starting to have like as she's approaching the homestead, she's having she's remembering all the stuff you've seen before, like her walking with her daughter and things like that. So she walks up to her daughter playing on the porch. The daughter's playing with a couple dolls, and there's a conversation between Maeve and her and the daughter about these are my dolls as one, and this is the doll's mother, the two dolls, and it's almost like she's like the mother is telling the daughter she doesn't want her to get taken again, or the daughter doesn't want the mother to get taken again. So she's having like memories of her.
The daughter was basically playing out
their story.
Maeve's story that she recalls with the Ghost Nation coming and taking everybody. Like she was playing that out, and the mom was like, I don't want it to happen again. So she's obviously having some kind of like
memories
and loops, I guess.
Right. And so then one of the things that I can't believe Maeve didn't anticipate, there's another mother. Like, there's another person in her narrative that's playing the mother now. And the daughter's like, Mama, and like goes to, say hi to her. And then Maeve's like the look on Maeve's face is like, the fuck?
Yeah, dude, that was the best acting of the whole fucking season so far. Like, the way Maeve drops her face when she hears the voice was like any mother in the world hearing whatever their worst thing may be for like their child. You know what I'm saying? Like, the one thing that like will just, oh, there's her voice. Like, your mother-in-law's here, right?
Right. And she doesn't even get a chance to hold that face very long because the Ghost Nation guys arrive again. With the same leader we've seen before, the guy who was at the edge of the water and let Stubbs go, and the guy who was at the party 30 years ago when they were selling the company. It's the same leader who's running this pack of Ghost Nation warriors. So they run away. Maeve grabs the daughter and they run. He chases the head guy chases them. When Maeve falls, he catches up on the horse and tells her, "Come with us. We're meant for the same path." And Maeve, in their language as well, says, "Your path leads to hell." But it's pretty much. I guess she still doesn't realize that they're. Well, I guess, but she's a host. So why is he trying to protect her? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me right now. Because we don't know like what the whole Ghost Nation point is. What
the whole Ghost, because we have like the earlier scene where they ran into him, where the Ghost Nation is just like, give us Sizemore,
right?
You guys can go on your way. And so you're like, oh, they're rescuing people, and they were like killing the host then. But then you have them attacking Lawrence and the Man in Black. So it's kind of like, all right, if we know you're working with like I don't know, were they trying to just take out the host still there, or like what was that? Like, we don't know anything about them really.
Right. We definitely don't know their motivation completely. All we know is they were protecting people or protecting guests and killing hosts, but they haven't killed all the hosts, and they're definitely not killing Maeve and her daughter yet, at least. But anyway, so Hector and Armistice and Armistice's Doppelbot, because I cannot say her name. I'm going to get to hear them say her name before I can actually say it right. They are assisting. They're shooting at some of the Ghost Nation. It distracts them enough that Maeve takes off running again. Since all the hosts are helping each other, Sizemore and the two techs, they're still sitting back on it, and Sizemore calls for help with that comm he took off last episode. So he's like, they're like, what are you doing? Like, Lutz is always Lutz is always for the hosts, but
he even leaves to go help them.
I don't know if he left because he questioned Sizemore. Well, yeah, I think after he questioned Sizemore, because Sizemore's like, I'm calling somebody for help. Like,
yeah, because he goes, we need to go help him. And then that's when you see Sizemore making the phone call, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm calling for help. And then Lutz walks off. He's like,
yeah.
Like gives him that disgusted look, like, how could you?
And just takes off. Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely, his soft spot runs deep for those hosts, man. Okay, so the last little bit, this all kind of happens all real quickly. So you're on the train. Clementine is passing out rifles to all the horde. Dolores and Teddy are talking again. And this is what you mentioned earlier. She said, as they're looking, Dolores says, Daddy told me to run from this place. And Teddy turns and says,
I never thought I'd want to leave. But I suppose you fixed that too.
So he's like, God, you just fucked up my brain. So he knows all that shit now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he has to. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't like she put him down and woke him up, or like he just was held there, and the dude whipped out the pad and was like, anger 10, badassery 10, shooting 10, and then, I mean, I don't know how you don't, like, I know they have literally changed his mood to like permanently
dick,
kind of angry and dicky.
Right.
But also at the same time, like, how could he not be dicky to her, even if he was like happy-go-lucky? Like, let's say like he got out of that, like, he would still be an asshole to her, because he's like, You fucking tried to change me up, bitch. Like, no. What the hell?
True. That's crazy. Okay, so at this point, after their conversation, he has a pistol that he breaks down and hands to the tech they've been dragging around, and he hands the guy one bullet, and he says,
That's the last of my mercy. Gotta use it fast.
Yeah, dude, I felt so bad for that guy.
yeah.
Like, first of all, I don't think I understand trains now. Because, like, I don't understand why they let him go and pulled the pin on the cart.
What don't you get?
Well, they were riding ahead.
No, okay, so he was on the passenger car behind the engine. They were in the car behind it, and they released it.
Oh, okay. So I had it flipped in my head.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, they let him go, and he gave him, like, a bullet, and I was like, I mean, that's just a dick move, man. Like, the guys could just wait for I mean, I guess maybe the train won't slow down or something from, like, I totally put the cards backwards in my head there.
I thought so.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense. Hey, dude, you can either blow up or...
shoot yourself in the head.
Shoot yourself, yeah.
Yeah. So... at that point, once he gives him the gun, Teddy locks the door as they cross over to the car behind him, and then Amanda pulls the pin out of it and separates the train. And the guy is like, and then the tech gets up, he's like, "You gotta let me out of here," as he's driving away with the engine, and then they just kind of are slowing down. And so then they switch to the command section in the actual, like, the map room is the best way to call it. And Coughlin is there, and he has one of the local, like, Westworld techs telling him that, we can't do this, we can't do that. The things you're showing us the park is working like it's supposed to, but it's not. And then he gets one of his techs on it, and the tech in like 2 minutes gets the map up. And Charlotte comes in at the same time, and she lets him know that Abernathy's down in the whatever subsection 31. They have him pinned to a chair. She's like, he's not going anywhere. And just as the map comes online, you see this red dot on the map, and Coughlin's like,
The fuck is that?
and it's the train. You had this great pan and zoom to the map, and then it switches to the actual train, and you see the train going into the same tunnel we've seen in the present timeline. It's smoking after the fight, or after the in the Strand timeline, and the same tunnel that Elsie and Bernard went into earlier. So that's the way they entered into the cradle area. All that stuff is all right there. So the train goes in full speed. There's a huge explosion, and then they switch to Elsie in the cradle, and she feels the explosion, and she's like, "What the fuck was that?" And then at the very end of the episode, we're back inside the cradle with Bernard inside the demo that it's running. All the backups and everything. And so Bernard sees Dolores's narrative start up. You see there's a Greyhound, which I don't know what the Greyhound has to do with this, but a Greyhound walks into the saloon. Bernard follows it as Teddy walks out on his narrative when he follows Dolores.
I thought one of the times we saw... Well, go ahead and make your reveal first before we start.
I mean, everybody's seen it. Hopefully everybody who's listening to this has seen it. But yeah, the Greyhound is laying next to the piano, and the person playing the pianist playing the piano is Ford. And he's like, "Hello, old friend." And you're like,
I thought we saw statues or something like that, like they were his favorite dogs or some shit like that.
Maybe. I'm trying to think if there was a Greyhound in the secret house with the little boy and his family he had built. Remember that one too? There may have been a Greyhound there. I don't know. I'll have to do some research before the next episode. But yeah.
Because I want to feel it's one of those things where it's either a Ford thing, and we've kind of subtly been referenced to it, or it's actually an Anthony Hopkins thing. Like, he has two in real life, or some shit like that. But I feel like I've read something or seen something somewhere before that makes that little connection.
Yeah, I want to think there's some sort of symbolism behind it.
Yeah, the symbology.
By the way, if you didn't listen, I know you didn't listen to it, but I put that scene in the podcast. I put that line whenever do we mention it during Deadpool or during? Yeah, I think it was during Deadpool episode, wasn't it? Was it last week?
I don't think so.
Or was it a Westworld one?
I think it was even before that.
If it was Westworld episode 4, I put that in there just for you.
Nice. Nice.
So anyways, that's it. That's episodes 5 and 6 reviewed deeply, and there's a lot going on. I'm almost more confused than when I started this 2 hours ago. So I have no clue. There's a lot of stuff that I don't even to unpack. So they are definitely holding their cards close and not telling us a lot and giving us just tiny little snippets.
Yeah, because this show moves like a cartoon worm. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the front end always stays and the back end scoots up to it, and then you get that weird like roller coaster arc.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they told a story to us, and then they kind of wrapped up some of the other big questions we had in this one. And the stories were like, oh, hey, we're about to be all nice and linear. And it was like the whole time they were just building up all these other questions that were going to be asked. And then like the worm fucking straightened back out again. And now everyone's just like,
damn it.
I don't understand what's going on anymore.
Very true. That's correct. Yeah, I completely get what you're saying there. And
a terrible analogy, but it seems to make sense.
Well, this season has 10 episodes in it, so we have
4 more?
4 more to go. No, yes. 4 more to go.
Yeah, because we just finished 6 and 7's this Sunday.
Yes.
And then okay.
So yeah, as it stands, next week's going to be solo everybody. We'll have our special guest then, and then the week after that we'll have episodes 7 and 8. And then we're going to go with 9 by itself. And then I believe Jurassic World and episode 10 are the same weekend. So you'll get one of the 2 of those the next 2 weekends after that. So it's going to be a blast. But we're going to hopefully they tell us the rest of the story by the end of this. Please.
Yeah, I hope this season isn't one of those like I'm okay at the end of every season having like 1 to 2 big like story arcs that are left open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you obviously got to keep me coming back. Or you have an introduction of such new people in, like, say, the last episode that you go, ooh, what is this all about? Something else is going on. Now we're going to get to hear their story, But I can't stand where an episode, like a season just basically is still, like, unraveled. And they're like, don't worry, we're going to tidy it all up and throughout 3 and throughout 4 and throughout. No, man. Like, you can't string that kind of shit on for so long.
Mm-hmm. We'll lose casual viewers like you.
Yeah, dude, like that. I mean, that's what happens. Like, remember the show Bones?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, of course.
Like, I love Bones, man. And Bones was one of those things where who I can't remember what it was. One of the first nemesis. Like they drug it out too long.
Oh. One that ended up having the guy in the lab being part of it?
I think so, or something like that. But it was like one of those things where like it lasted like 4 seasons, because no one could ever catch him or whatever. And it was like, at a certain point, you guys are just going to have to let this thing fucking go, man. Like, because we don't even fucking care about this bad guy anymore. Like, he's just been around here forever and you couldn't have caught him. Like, you're catching literally dudes committing harder crimes in 48 hours.
Right.
He's
not that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I missed that show. It had a great run though. I watched it from the day it started to the day it ended.
Yeah, Bones was one of those shows that I used to watch like when I watched TV with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I would watch Bones with them, and there was like NCIS I would watch. There was a couple other shows like that. And then but it was one of those things where like I never watched every episode.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I finally got older, and then like the first 4 or 5 seasons, like, whatever, 1 through 5, 1 through 3 were up there, I would go watch them all. And then I would start on the new season that was up, man, when I used to watch TV.
Nice.
And do it. But now I can't trust any TV because everything gets taken away from me.
Right. Yeah, go back and listen to that episode. We went over all the canceled stuff a few episodes back. It's been a rough chopping block. Hey, Roseanne got canceled this week because of
Ambien
racially charged tweet.
Did you see the reply from Ambien?
Yeah, that was great. The fact that a giant company like that's going to still clap back on Twitter is pretty nice.
The fact that you just said clap back's pretty nice.
You can't.
You could definitely tell you read too much Twitter now.
True. True.
You're starting to talk like them.
No, I can't do it. I quit. That's it. I'm done with the show.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week.
Later, guys.